Hello, welcome to Lay's Real Talk. Today's topic is a juicy one that may pique your interest. I actually found so much information on the subject that I'm making another video. Please keep tuning in for part 2 and subscribe now. There is a group of people, and it's not a small number, who occupy important positions around the world in politics, academia, business, media, and entertainment. They're vocal supporters of China. Whenever the Chinese Communist regime does something notorious, this group defends it, finds excuses for its bad behavior, and becomes its cheerleaders. They have a theory, which is, we're not winning if we oppose China. For example, no matter how much the Chinese regime took advantage of the United States in trade deals, all American administrations before Trump, Republican and Democrat alike, adopt a soft approach toward China. And their argument was, if we get into a trade war with China, we'd lose jobs and have inflation. When China tramples human rights over and over, they either become quiet or make their voice effectively non-effective. Because of them, China's communist leaders for the past 2 decades have been able to get away with whatever they want. By the way, you can watch my 2 videos about China's old friends to learn who they are. So why would anyone condone and support the Chinese Communist Party? Well, some of them unknowingly defend the regime because they mistakenly equate their fondness for China with having respect for the CCP. Some have close business ties with China, and so they cave in to protect their business interests. The third reason is that some have been compromised. They've fallen prey to the CCP because they've been trapped. The CCP has damning evidence of their potentially scandalous activities to hold against them. Of all the various methods that CCP uses to compromise an individual, the honey trap is the easiest and the most common. Let's take a look at a few cases. Ian Clement was a British politician and Boris Johnson's deputy mayor of London, who was in charge of external relations. In August 2008, Clement represented London at the opening ceremony of the Beijing 2008 Olympics. Even though he was warned in advance by UK's Foreign Intelligence Agency, he still fell into a honey trap set up by the Chinese. Clement attended a party and was flattered by a pretty Chinese woman who approached him. The woman gave him her card. Later, when he returned to his hotel, he saw the same woman again at the hotel. After a couple of glasses of wine, he invited the woman to his hotel room. What happened next is expected. But Clement couldn't remember how he fell asleep. When he woke up, he was surprised to find that his room had been ransacked and the woman was leaving. The contents of his BlackBerry had also been downloaded and his documents searched and copied. The woman had also gone through his wallet, but nothing was missing. He knew then that he had been drugged, and the Chinese woman was an intelligence agent. Clement told the story to news reporters a year later. 2 Australian authors detailed his Beijing experience in their book, Hidden Hand, exposing how the Chinese Communist Party is reshaping the world. The book was published last July. Don't assume that the honey trap only applies to politicians or influential people. It can happen to anyone the CCP thinks is important. New York Post mentioned a dossier compiled in the UK last year that details how the CCP has used honey trap as part of its effort to promote Huawei, the Chinese high-tech company banned by the US government. 10 years ago, in 2011, The Telegraph reported on an incident that involved a top French researcher who was working for a French pharmaceutical company. This researcher was wined and dined by a Chinese female spy, who he ended up sleeping with. When he was shown the video of what happened the night before in the hotel room, he had no choice but to be highly cooperative with the Chinese. Men who are married are usually the target, according to Dale Wilbur, a former U.S. intelligence officer. He told New York Post last December that there have been instances of women falling into the trap as well. This is what Wilbur said. The goal is to get the target into a compromising position, usually with photos or video evidence of their indiscretions. Once compromised, they're told to cooperate, or else their actions will be disclosed and they will be divorced, lose their government clearance and their job, etc. Speaking of divorce, do you recognize this man whose divorce was highly publicized almost 2 decades ago? I'll show you another picture. Sitting in the front center is George H.W. Bush, the 41st President of the United States. Next to him is George W. Bush, the 43rd President of the U.S. The man sitting to the right of George W. Bush is Neil Bush, the 4th child of George Bush Sr. The woman standing behind him is his ex-wife, Sharon. Neil and Sharon Bush had been married for 23 years before they divorced in 2003. Their divorce was highly publicized, not only because he was a Bush and there was another woman involved. Maria Andrews was having an affair with Neil, but also because Sharon accused Neil of sleeping with strange women on his trips to Asia. Neil's deposition revealed that on several occasions he had slept with women he didn't know when he was on business trips to Hong Kong and Thailand. It happened around the time from 1998 to 1999. His father had finished his presidential term, and 2 of his brothers, Jeb and George, were the governors of Florida and Texas, respectively. The highly publicized divorce also revealed that even though Neil Bush had no experience in the semiconductor industry, he was hired as a consultant to the Grace Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, a Chinese company. This company was founded by Jiang Mianheng, the son of dictator and former CCP leader Jiang Zemin, and Winston Wang, the son of a Taiwanese business tycoon. It was reported that Bush was paid $10,000 for every board meeting he attended, plus $2 million worth of stock over 5 years. By the way, all of this is public information. If you Google Neil Bush divorce, you will see tons of information. After his divorce deposition was leaked to media, it was widely reported that Neil Bush admitted on record that it was very unusual for him to go to a hotel, open his room, and have a woman standing there. And he said, whatever happened, happened. And this repeated 3 or 4 times in Hong Kong and Thailand. When asked by the lawyer if he knew whether these women were prostitutes, he said he didn't know. This is quite intriguing. My first question is, how did these women end up in the room of the son of a former president and the brother of 2 U.S. governors? Was it random or by arrangement? My second question is about Neil. Having grown up in his powerful political family and being around secret police a lot, could he really have had no idea about how and why these women showed up in his room, or who might have sent them, before he decided to sleep with them? My next question is, how did Sharon Bush know of her husband's sexual encounters in Asia? Did Neil tell her? No, I don't think her husband told her. So is it possible that someone might have tipped her off about his escapades? And my last question is this: is it possible that whoever sent these women to Neil still has in his or her possession the videos and photos that could embarrass the Bush family? I don't know the answers, but I think these are very valid questions. Let's fast forward to 2019. During the Hong Kong pro-democracy movement 2 years ago, Neil Bush was invited to speak at a forum in Hong Kong in July. He hit at the America First rhetoric and argued that American-style democracy would not work for China and would be destabilizing. Neil Bush's narrative matched 100% to that of the CCP. In fact, the Chinese media headlined, "U.S. must stop treating China as an enemy," says son of former President George H.W. Bush. A few months later, in December 2019, Neil Bush was interviewed by CGTN, the official Chinese mouthpiece outside China. Amazingly, Bush said that none of his friends in Hong Kong have complained about the lack of freedom or that there is some kind of communist takeover. This is what he wanted to say to the Hong Kong people seeking democracy at the time.
If I were in Hong Kong and were to meet with a group of the people that are protesting, my first question would be, what freedoms are you seeking that you don't already enjoy?
In both instances, his interviews were widely used by the CCP to legitimize its crackdown on the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. There's no doubt that Neil Bush was helping the CCP by using his status and influence. But why? I want to end today's program by asking this question. Is it possible that Neil Bush must play this role because the Chinese Communist regime has documented his unusual encounters with Asian women more than 20 years ago and is still holding that against him and the Bush family? Let me know your thoughts and leave me comments. This is only part 1. Part 2 of The Honey Trap will come out soon. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Have a great weekend.